The film opens at Sannomiya Station. Seita, in rags and starving, collapses on the platform. Bystanders comment on his pitiful state, one noting that American troops are arriving soon, and such a sight would be an embarrassment. That night, a janitor rummages through his belongings and finds a candy tin containing Setsuko's ashes. He tosses it aside, releasing the spirits of Setsuko, Seita, and Fireflies, implying their ghosts linger in the station to narrate the story. Seita recalls the end of World War II during the Kobe fire bombings. As their mother, who has a heart condition, heads to a shelter, Seita carries Setsuko on his back, running through chaotic streets. They flee to the seaside and wait for the bombing to end, before returning to their destroyed home. A man announces a gathering at the school for survivors. Seita leaves Setsuko with a family friend and searches for their mother, who was severely burned in the air raid. She dies in a makeshift hospital, and Seita, hiding his grief, comforts his crying sister. Their mother is cremated with others, and Seita collects her remains in a small box. Early summer, with nowhere to go, the siblings stay with their aunt in Nishinomiya and write to their father. On their second day, Seita retrieves supplies he had buried before the bombing. He gives them to his aunt, but keeps a small tin of fruit drops. At first, their stay is peaceful. Their aunt benefits from their provisions while giving them shelter and food. However, tensions soon arise. She criticizes Seita for not helping around the house and for consuming too much food. While Setsuko's nighttime cries disturb the household, Seita, believing the situation temporary, takes Setsuko to the seaside, reminiscing about happier times. The household grows increasingly tense. One evening, the aunt insists Seita sell their mother's belongings for rice. Seeing her mother's kimonos being taken away, Setsuko sobs uncontrollably. Seita then finds out their mother had left them a comfortable sum, enough to support themselves. During an air raid, Seita discovers an abandoned shelter and decides to move in with Setsuko, escaping their aunt's harsh treatment. To Setsuko, the shelter feels like a real home, and they continue living there without concern for the future. One evening, they catch fireflies and release them in their shelter. Their glow reminds Seita of fireworks from a naval review before their father left for war. The lights transform into anti-aircraft tracers in his mind. The next day, he finds Setsuko digging a hole. She innocently explains she is making a grave for the fireflies, just as their aunt said was done for their mother. The reminder of his mother's unceremonious burial overwhelms Seita, and he breaks down in tears, promising they will visit her grave someday. As their food dwindles, Setsuko starts starving. Seita resorts to stealing from farmers and looting homes during air raids. Caught and beaten, he finally takes a now severely weak Setsuko to a doctor, who tells him she is suffering from malnutrition. Learning of his father's death, Seita withdraws all the money from their mother's bank account and buys food. Returning to the shelter, Seita finds Setsuko delirious, mistaking marbles for fruit drops and offering him rice balls made of mud. He rushes to cook for her, but it's too late. Setsuko dies of starvation. Heartbroken, Seita cremates his sister using supplies from a kind farmer. He places her remains in the fruit tin, carrying it along with their father's photograph until he too succumbs to malnutrition at Sannomiya Station weeks later. In the present, Setsuko runs towards Seita. In death, they are reunited. With her head resting on his lap, she peacefully falls asleep as fireflies drift through the air.